I think when you get to a certain point, like at a certain age, if you're dying, like what is it that people worry about the most when you're living? I mean, not everybody, but what is it that yeah, everybody has thought of this at one point in time in their life. How am I going to die? Am I going to be tortured to death? Because it's the way it seems right now. Like that big ass ship that's going over to New York, the Comfort. Depending on what you believe. When you listen to Kleck and you hear him tell you that they're coming to get us, they're just coming to round us up. Sheep slaughter. We're going to get slaughtered. All the sheep. Because the sheep get killed. They get beheaded. They die. They get slaughtered. They die in Christ. They get slaughtered in Christ. They get beheaded in Christ. They get death in Christ. They all die in Christ. That's what's going on here. But if you are fearful, you'll believe that it's true. If you believe it's true, that's part of the punishment. That's part of the suffering, is to believe these things. So how are you going to die? I say the new system should be like this. After everything is done, all the truth is known to everybody that's been watching, and then when we move on with life, let's say you're at the point where you're going to die. You have uncurable cancer. It's it. There is no more. When you're at a certain point, there's no turning back. But let's say that you're going to die within 6 months, and it's just going to be a slow, torturous type of death because you're still suffering. Yeah, they're going to pump you up a bunch of drugs. That's just to keep you comfortable and numb. But it's prolonging the inevitable. So why not have it to the point where you get to choose the part? Now, there has to be you have to go through a process where it has to be approved. Not everybody can do this just because they feel like dying. But in the future, you have a system set up where if you're obviously going to die, and you think of it from a human standpoint, you have a father that's going to die. He's suffering, but he's still living. And then one day he finally dies. And then the suffering's over. It's like, you're kind of relieved. It's sad, but at the same time you're relieved because you know he's not suffering. Like my dad, for instance. What would be the problem with being able to call it quits on your own and just go back home? To have the system where it's a simple lethal injection that you sign off, and it doesn't go for people that are depressed or people that they just want to kill themselves. No, that doesn't work. You don't get approved for that. I'm talking about somebody that's deathly sick, to stop the suffering. That way you can all say goodbye instead of, oh, did so and so died or whatever. It's like you'll be able to say goodbye to the people, and then that they're going to transfer and go straight back to God, their soul. They have a painless death. You're able to say goodbye instead of a surprise. Same thing with anybody that's severely handicapped. like severely, after, like, in other words, if you're normally living and you're just walking around, all of a sudden you get in this major car accident and now you're just paralyzed from head to toe. You can't move, you can't do anything. You can only be up, you can only be up and alive like this. Now, would you want to live like that for the next 20 years? Would you want somebody to have to take care of you? I'm just saying. Everybody lives and everybody dies eventually anyway. We all live and we all die. Why not make it more comfortable? That way, when you get to that certain point, when you are that age, or you are that sick, or you are that whatever, that there's another option. Instead of living life being suffering all the way through, you actually get a choice. You get to choose the time that you leave. It's just a thought, it's just a thought. It's a tough situation to think about because it involves death. But then some people will say, well, you're acting like you're God because you're choosing your own death. Well, God knows when we're all going to die. And do you think God sits there and just enjoys the fact that people suffer longer? When a soul goes back to Him, it's victory, because that soul leaves the flesh and it's no longer tormented and suffering. But if you're living a long life and you're healthy, live your life. Live it. Look, if I was God and I was able to create people, I would want to create people to never get sick and to never die ever again. But we all die. I know it says no more death, no more pain, no more tears. That's when you die. There's no more death, no more pain, no more tears. There's no more of that when you actually die. And at the same time, what's happening now with the Bible being fulfilled, just getting pretty soon, there's going to be no more death of the coronavirus because nobody died in the first place, but it's going to taper down all the way to June 1st. Tapers all the way down. What would you do if you're on the deathbed? Maybe there might be people that are watching my video that actually have this problem, that you might be completely paralyzed. But do you want to live? Some people might want to live. You might want to live. Who knows? I'll find out when I'm paralyzed. And I'm like, you know what? I actually want to live. I don't want to die. But it's just a thing of somebody always has to take care of you. And again, if that's their job and they do it, and that's, I just think there should be another option. Just so, and it's not for everybody. It's just case to case basis. If you got to walk in to a hospital and you see the person that you love suffering and you know they're going to die, but they're just holding on to their dear life, and you know that they keep suffering day in and day out, would you not feel better if they would just pass on because of the suffering? That's the only reason. They do it to cats, they do it to dogs, they do it to animals. It's done. No, it's not murder. It's not you're killing yourself. You are releasing your spirit, going back to God, getting out of the suffering, painful flesh that you're living in. If I was God, I would allow it. I would allow it for case by case basis.